N4HNH here. As promised, this is video 2 focusing on the station monitor for the FTDX 5000. That would be the SM-5000 station monitor. You see sitting here atop the 5000, speaker left, speaker right, and a Bandscope in the middle. This video is going to focus on the display itself, where the previous video focused on the speakers and the audio tapering functions and phase reversal. But this one is going to focus on the Bandscope. So let me show you how to get into the menu to adjust the Bandscope preferences. So we'll look down here at the CS button, custom switch. Now, I showed in another video what this is all about. If you press temporarily, just tap the custom switch, there we go. Mine's going to take me into APF width. Why? Because I tend to go there a bit to adjust the APF, the audio peak filter, to either narrow or super narrow as needed. Usually, for pulling out CW signals is what it's for. So I went ahead and set that one to be the option that I get when I tap the custom switch. Now, whatever menu item you want it to be, just select that menu item and then you long press the custom switch and it locks that in. So from now on, rather than going into the menu over here and trying to find 112, I just tap the CS. Okay? Now, if you long press the CS, it takes you into the there you go, into the menu options for setting up the Bandscope, the SM-5000. Now, you'll have to do that at least once when you plug in an SM-5000, because right here, this option here, display on, if that is off, your display is not going to function. So the first thing you do when you set one of these up after you plug it in is you long press that to get into the scope setup, and you want to press it or dial it into on. Okay, so next option up, what type of mode do you want it to operate in? The default that comes with it is center. So you see the 0. So as I turn the VFO, like we see that signal up the band a little bit, you see what it's doing? So I'm actually just, there we go, moving up the band to find out what was there. That's not a frequency that I should really be listening on. And you guys probably know why. So that's the center mode. Now, I prefer the fixed mode, which is, you'll notice now, instead of reading the 0 where I am and telling me, well, there's center, look. So basically I have 0 there, and I'm looking up and down the band, plus 200K, plus 400K, minus 200, minus 400. In fixed mode, it's actually showing me the frequencies. So as I move the VFO now, instead of the signals coming to me, I'm going to them. So you can see the line representing the frequency that my VFO is tuned to. I like that mode, but everybody's got their own preference. Now, as far as fixed mode is concerned, there's some options for that too. If we set it to fix and then we go back to this knob, we can set the span. So right now I've got it set for 500K on 40 meters. So you can narrow that down, or you can spread it out. So that's your span, and that is set per band. So if you're going to set the span, you're going to want to try set it on each band. The defaults aren't bad, but I think I have tweaked a couple of them. All right, then you have an attenuator. Look at the Bandscope right there, and you'll see the noise floor. I've got 10 dB of attenuation right now. Okay, let me put it back to 0. Notice the noise floor comes up a little bit. And, if you just don't want to see the noise floor, you only want to see signals spiking up, then add some attenuation. There's 10 dB, and you can do another option, which is 20 dB. So now, definitely, I'm only going to see the signals popping up, actual sideband signals there, as opposed to seeing the noise floor. It's completely optional, and that's why they give us these choices. I tend to use I usually have it set on 10 dB. That seems to be a nice happy medium across all bands, because on the lower bands you're going to have more noise floor than you do on the upper bands. So for example, 17 meters, there's 0 attenuation, barely see a little noise floor, there's 10 dB, so it's a good happy medium for all the bands to me. Okay, back over here to the options. Trace, normal. Now watch what'll happen here. Let me get this focused. The next option is average, and you'll see the little gray areas kicking in. So that's just averaging out the strength of the signals I'm seeing, their amplitude as they speak. And then there is another option, peak hold, and you'll see now that the little gray areas, or bluish gray, stay there a little bit, so you can actually have a chance to look over and see what that station's peak is. So, and again, see peak hold or average. So there's the average, and there's peak hold, back to average. And you can tell the difference is really easy to see, because the average is not going to go as high as the white portion, because the white portion is their peak. Whereas if you set it on peak hold, you'll see that the there you go. You see the little bluish gray is going to now sit there and hold whatever the peak was that they're. Wow, that guy went way up right there at 7,200. So there you go. I tend to run it on normal. So that's the trace option. Now LBWS. Let me go back to the mode options here, and we'll switch it from fix, or there's center fix. There's LBWS. Look what that does to the display, as opposed to fix. LBWS narrows it. Now what happens is the processor in the SM-5000 has less work to do. It's not having to process the entire spectrum there, so it's going to respond faster. So if you don't care for the little bit of a delay that you get in the response time on the display when it's looking across the band, you can go into LBWS mode, BW bandwidth. So you can, there's 3 settings for that as well. There's LBWS 1, 2, and 3. And so you're seeing there that basically just keeps narrowing it, and yeah, presumably there's a little bit of speed improvement the narrower you go. It's hard to tell really. LBWS2 seems to be a good happy medium. Look at that. Look how the response time of the spikes. I'm going to move it up to oh, I hate to that frequency, but there's somebody talking there and I need it. Okay, there you go. See the response time? And that's LBWS 1. Here's 2. And 3. Look at that. 3 is virtually instantaneous. So that just narrows the bandwidth that it's looking at and allows it to operate or respond faster. Now, if you do have LBWS mode selected, then when you go up past attenuation and trace, there's LBWS options there. Now you're gonna see that it says M, L, and H. M is the middle. Well, look where the display is focused right now. That's M. L lower portion, back to M, H, higher portion. So there you go. That's the options for LBWS mode. And again, I just prefer, I'll set it back the way I normally run it. Trace on normal, attenuator on 10, and center span, there we go, mode, fix, so that I'm looking at the actual frequencies, and then I can look up and down and see about where I need to go if I see a signal to go find that signal. Okay, hope you found that informative, exploring the Bandscope on the SM-5000 display. Okay, let me just say, no, it's not a 7300. It's not a high-tech, state-of-the-art Bandscope. In fact, I had a tough choice to make when I bought this radio, because I tried the FTDX 101. I tried everything in HRO, and I narrowed down to between this and the FTDX 101. And well, it came down to this. I like the ergonomics of the knobs. I liked having an actual d'Arsenval style meter rather than the simulated needle, which is fine too. You know, on the 101 you can select whether you want a digital display or the needle looking display. And of course this rig has a second receiver, and they do use the bar graph as really what I meant by digital. It uses the bar graph for the second receiver, so hey, if I get bored, I got two different options anyway. But I like the ergonomics of the radio. Pretty much everything I need to get to is a knob or a button away. And again, even if I do need to go to the menu, the most likely thing I'm going to do is go to APF. So I just assign that to my, there we go, to my CS button. So again, to get into the setup for the SM-5000, long press the CS button. You'll see it go to your options for, oh, got to get out of that mode. There we go. Long press, and you're into the mode setting for your SM-5000. Tap it again, and you exit. Now tap it, don't long press, and it's going to go to whatever menu choice you wanted, you know, essentially at your fingertips. Same button, two different operations. Okay, so back to the Bandscope. For me, it was, do I want the bling? Do I need the really fancy scope? Because to choose that meant that I had to give up some of the ergonomics that I get to have with the 5000. You know, I'd have, you know, on the 101D over here, you got a big display. Fortunately, on the 101, you press the menu button and everything that you could possibly want to adjust pops up on the screen. You don't have to page through, and that's good. But for me, it was more about can the radio hear, and this one was neck and neck with the 101D as far as receive. And so then I said, well, I don't really have to have that 3D display. I really like the knobs and the real needle. And one other thing was digital noise reduction. Right here. You can, oh, let me get out of the menu. You can practically operate with DNR on all the time. Listen, watch this. I know this doesn't involve that display, but can't help but cover it while I'm talking, since the subject came up. You can turn it all the way up to 15. It will not have that watery effect. It just knocks out the noise floor.
Yeah, roger that, Ron. You know, I've been so busy remodeling the house that we bought, and
you never will get the watery effect.
Other things, and
that
it took a while to
helped
build
sway
the
me as
shack.
well, because even the 101 will have that watery effect. Okay, you can get rid of the watery effect, because what's happening is you're just hitting that processor, the digital noise reduction processor, with so much noise, and the watery effect is going to be a result. Use your IPO attenuator, roll the RF gain back, present that processor with less noise in the first place, and it'll clean it right up, and you won't get the watery effect. But on the 5000, you can hit it full bore with noise, and it doesn't seem to care. It's never produced that watery effect. So it was a tough choice. A lot of different things to look at to make my decision. But I'm absolutely more pleased every day with choosing the FTDX 5000 MP Limited. Hope you found this informative. 73 from N4 HNH.